as far as the jobs front is concerned, I know the Congress party at least acknowledges that jobs is going to be an issue that India will face a crisis over. I mean, you know, we've had eminent economists say that now. But most industrialists that we speak to believe that it's land and labor that's stalling job creation, that stalls investments, that they red flag those issues. Will the Congress party be willing to review, rethink on its stance as far as land and labor both are concerned?
I think before we kind of step into what we economists call factor market reforms, which is land and labor, I think we first have to understand why we got to this position that we did. And let me give you a little bit of context. Mr. Chidambaram, during his speech at the plenary on the economic resolution, made it very clear that yes, the UPA government created jobs, but perhaps we did not create as many as we would have liked to. So the jobs is a challenge. And we completely acknowledge that. But what is worse is the situation has worsened. And why do I say that? Let me give you just one simple statistic. It takes 10 lakhs in investments for a steel manufacturing plant to create one job. For an auto manufacturing, it creates 3 jobs with the same 10 lakhs. But guess what? The textiles and apparel sector creates 240 new jobs with 10 lakhs. The leather and footwear industry creates 80 new jobs. Clearly, there are jobs that could have been created by certain sectors. But why did they not get created? Because of policies such as demonetization, which was just completely whimsical, illogical, and ill-conceived. So we deliberately shot ourselves in the foot when it came to job creation. And I think we first have to acknowledge that. Our simple ask of the government is please acknowledge that there is a jobs crisis. Do not hide behind manufactured and, manufactured and compromised research claiming that we create 70 lakh new jobs every year or something like that. So I think we first have to understand that, 7 lakh new jobs. We first have to acknowledge that we do have a jobs problem.
Party promising more than it can deliver.
Promising what? The economic resolution of the Congress party was an exercise where we took a step back, introspected, understood what the challenges in the nation's economy were, where the BJP has faltered in its management of the economy, identified clear challenges, and said these are the challenges that will face the nation in the coming decades, and the Congress party's economic policy doctrine will face these challenges and propose solutions to these challenges as we get closer to the elections and will be detailed out in our manifesto. So that was the purpose of the economic resolution. And we've clearly laid out the challenges. The challenges are jobs first and foremost. Second is one of farm to non-farm transitions or agrarian distress. Third is one of inequality. And fourth is the role of the state in social welfare and education and health. And we believe these are the 4 fundamental challenges that will face the country. And we have clearly laid out the 5 tenets of the Congress's economic vision. And the 5 tenets are that economic growth is paramount. It's important. The problem of jobs can be solved through reviving private investment and creation of jobs by the private sector. We've said for inequality, we will have to look into the modern contemporary economic development paradigm and to see where returns to capital are being favored over returns to labor. We have to look at these issues and see what needs to be done from a inequality perspective. For agrarian distress, we've clearly said that agriculture productivity should be the absolute key area of focus. Yeah.
Mr. Chakravarty, I have specific questions on all of that, and I will ask you. I wanted to get a big picture question out of my way, but I will ask you the question that you spoke about growth. And your agenda clearly says that growth will alleviate poverty, and yet there are tones of the entitlement-based policies that the Congress party is known for. As somebody who who understands free markets, how are you going to marry the two ideologies? One that is going to fuel and rekindle the animal spirits, revive growth, alleviate poverty, and one on the front of entitlement-based policies. How are you going to marry? How are you going to merge these two approaches?
Absolutely. I think growth will be driven through the private sector and a viable and efficient public sector, and the resolution states that very clearly. But we also know that growth need not necessarily be inclusive all the time. There are people that are left behind, and we do need a strong welfare state specifically in areas such as health and education and social security for those that are left behind. So I don't see any contradiction between the two. I actually think it's a perfectly legitimate position where growth is driven by private sector and a viable and efficient public sector, and the state takes care of the poor and the needy.